Good afternoon and welcome to ENG3E Term 2A, brought to you by Wassa Distance Education Center. I'm your instructor, Mike Laverty, and today is Thursday, March the 2nd, 2023. We are on class number 15, and today's class marks our first class where we are discussing Unit 3. So there are 5 units in ENG3E. We wrapped up Unit 2 in yesterday's class, and today we will begin our discussion of Unit 3. So in the previous 2 units, Units 1 and 2, you had to do the unit assignments, and in addition to the unit assignments, there were the textbook assignments. So these the final units 3, 4, and 5 only have the textbook assignments, so you're not consulting the Road Ahead and the Making It Work textbook for assignments. That being said, you're still looking in those documents, those books, because there are still assigned readings. So you're still responsible for reading the assigned readings, and the unit assignment questions will be in direct reference to those readings, so you do have to get out there and read them on your own. So you do that, you do the reading independent, but then I will also, depending on how long the assigned reading is, I might read the entire thing over the air, or at the very least just give you a summary and just talk about the assigned reading in detail. So just wanted to let everybody know that I'm doing my first Fun Friday broadcast tomorrow. That's March 3rd at 11 a.m. Just trying to get the word out, asking people to phone in during the broadcast from 11 till 12 p.m. We will have prizes for those that participate, so we'll be on the air on 91.9 FM, and we'll also be on Zoom. So here's our course schedule. We have Units 1 and 2 completed. I'm thinking that we'll spend weeks 4 and 5 discussing Unit 3, weeks 5 and 6 for Unit 4, and weeks 7 and 8 devoted to Unit 5, giving us at least a full week to talk about the final exam and get you ready to complete the final exam. So I put a note there. If you're registered in 2A, students write their final exam during the following week, so that I guess that would be week 10, or they complete a course culminating activity. And if you are registered as an independent learner, then you still need to complete all 5 units. So that's all of the assignments in those units, the culminating activity at the end of the unit. Once you have all 5 completed, at that point you will arrange a final exam. And so as we get closer to the final exam, I will do classes where we talk about the final exam itself, the content, what's going to be on it, what you should expect, some key concepts you should be very familiar with, do some practice runs, and then also just talk about the logistics, how we actually set up a final exam for you. Thanks for tuning in. If you're listening on 91.9 FM, we broadcast live Monday to Thursday, 1 p.m. to 1:55 p.m. Central Standard Time. Please phone in at 1-807-737-4017 or our toll-free number 1-800-465-7144. And you can also log in at zoom.us, select the Join Meeting button, and enter the meeting ID, which is 417-6699-799. All the videos, all the classes can be found on my YouTube channel, so just search for Laverty Wassa, Laverty Wassa, and you'll find my YouTube channel and all of my classes for ENG3E. please reach out to me at mlaverty@nnecschools.org. Find me on Facebook Messenger. I'm at Laverty Wassa, my same name on YouTube. And please phone the Wassa office at 1-807-737-1488. Dial extension 221 to get myself, or if you get the receptionist, just ask for Mike. And you can also phone the Wassa office at 1-800-667-3703. That's our free long-distance number. If you have any questions about the chorus, feel free to reach out to me or to someone in the Wassa office or your local learning center, and someone will help you out and point you in the right direction. Here's your suggested progress. If you've been enrolled in the course for approximately 3.5 weeks, should have made contact with your teacher, read the study guide, Unit 1 and Unit 2, completed all assignments from Unit 1, and started working on Assignment 2. Unit 2 assignments. So you should have Unit 1 wrapped up. Unit 2 should be about, maybe halfway done. And of course, today we'll begin discussing the assignments for Unit 3. So we're going to look at a quote of the day from Susan Aglukark. That's a Inuit singer-songwriter, and she is the writer of one of our assigned readings from today. So we'll look at assignments from Unit 3, that's 1 through 7, and we'll have a look at the 2 assigned readings from the road ahead. So that's Shamaya, that's a song, and Alone on the Ocean, that's a memoir excerpt. So remember, an excerpt is a piece from a longer work, and this is a piece from a memoir. So we'll have a look at those 2 in detail. So your learning goals are to take notes on Unit 2 assignments 1 through 7, do a close reading of the song lyrics from Shamaya, and an excerpt from a memoir, Alone on the Ocean, and learn how to research about other cultures and countries. You'll know you've been successful if you can research information about other countries and cultures, think deeply about 2 assigned readings before analyzing them to complete the related assignments, and of course, complete your unit assignments 1 through 7. So this is our quote of the day from Susan Aglukark. I keep mispronouncing her name. I did look it up online. So she actually performed in Sulikout in the mid to late 90s when I was working my first job at the Mayfair Theater, and she made a point to meet all of the staff who were working during the concert, so all of the young kids who were making popcorn and filling up Diet Pepsis for the customers. So I always thought that was kind of cool, and that she took the time to introduce herself, find out a bit about us, and didn't act like she was the star of the show and she was too good for us. So she was a very, very welcoming, very warm person. I remember that much about her. And when I searched up quotes from her, this is the one that came up, and it was featured on a website. I can't remember which one, but it was featured as a quote from Susan Aglukark. So one heals when they are truly ready to, and then only when they accept that healing happens in stages, and that we can only forgive a little at a time. It doesn't all just go away. We have to be willing to do the work and to be ready to be always working toward that healed state. So in addition to being a singer and a songwriter, she's also an activist, and she's actively trying to find ways to help people heal, recover from trauma. That's sort of what she sings a lot about in her songs, giving people hope and working through her own suffering and hopefully giving people some guidance and some and a path forward in life. So I think this quote kind of just speaks to that. This is her her thoughts on healing, and she's written many songs on this theme. All right, so here's our assignments from Unit 3. The first question is in relation to a song that Susan wrote called Shamaya. So Shamaya is a song about an Inuit boy learning to be a hunter, but on a deeper level, it is also a parable of life. So as we've discussed in this class a few times, that when we read poetry, and poetry and song lyrics are very similar in a sense. They're most poems are about the same length as a sheet of song lyrics. So and then of course there's actually a form of poetry called lyrical poetry, and that's why we refer to them as song lyrics. And so there's often a story being told. There's a surface level of meaning, but there's a deeper story happening underneath that. So the singer-songwriter is giving you a story, in this case about an Inuit boy who's learning to be a hunter, but on this deeper level, it's a parable of life. So this is a two-part question. So part A is define the word parable. So that's one sentence. And so that's just the dictionary definition of, just if you just go to dictionary.com, or, of course, look in an actual dictionary. But I love dictionary.com. It's a great source. Just simply look up the word and offer a definition. Part B, what do you think is meant by the phrase, on a deeper level, it is a parable of life? What is the real journey in the song? One or two sentences. So that is, and that's a line from the song. Shamaya is a song, and it's actually, it's a song about a song. So, like she's singing about this concept, Shamaya, which is a song that was sung, when these Inuit boys are becoming men. They're boys, but they're becoming men. So that is, on a deeper level, why would this song be a parable of life? What's the real journey in the song? So we'll have a look at the song. So deep in time, a hunt took place that made a boy a man. A song was sung to celebrate and welcome each new hand. The story of Shemaiah, the song that brings to life, the hunt that each boy had to face, the hunt of joy or strife. And he knows, there he goes, Shemaiah. So that is, if we were analyzing this like poetry, we'd call that stanza 1 or verse 1. So she divides this song into 3 parts. There's verse 1, 2, and 3. Shemaiah, she repeats the word twice. That's the chorus, or sometimes referred to as the refrain, that the part that repeats. So there's a nice structure to this. It's almost like the 3-act structure of a play. So the first verse is, if we think about the units of ENG3E, we have preparing for the journey, setting out, the journey itself, attaining the quest, and what the future holds. So this first verse would definitely be preparing for the journey, right? So the young boy has to go out there. He has to learn how to hunt. He has to learn how to be a man. People have been caring for him his whole life and preparing him, and now it's time for him to enter that world where he's the hunter, and he's looking for food, and then he's looking after other people. He's going to help raise the next generation. One key line is so Shamaya is a song. It brings to life the hunt that each boy has to face. It's the hunt of joy or strife. Okay, so that's a key line from the song, and there's a question about that. The hunt of joy or strife, right? Joy is, of course, happiness and fulfillment and things going well in your life. And strife is the opposite of that. Strife is things going wrong, hardships, negativity. The second verse of the song, so they paddle down the water's edge, a journey of first rites. His trembling hands are clenching tight, excitement in his eyes. The old man starts to tell them of a journey just like this, when 40 years before he'd lost himself in this same myth, and the boy became a man. Shamaya, Shamaya. So that's the second verse of the song. And in this second verse of the song, the boy has set out for the journey. He's on the journey itself, but at some point in the journey, he meets an old man, and the old man starts to tell him that he's been on a journey just like this before. 40 years before, he had embarked on the same journey. The old man was a young boy on the verge of being a man. He was sent out on the journey, and he's trying to either tell the old man or tell the young boy something, give him a lesson. And the final verse of the song reads, he hunts with such a vengeance, the passion turns to pride, the hunt no longer born of need, but fueled by his desire. Shamaya is not a myth, he learns. It's a parable of life. So when you know your need's too great, you should put out the fire and journey on, journey on. So that's the final verse of the song. Verse number 3. When she sings he, I'm not sure if that's in reference to the old man or to the boy. I think it's in reference to the old man who now hunts with a vengeance. His passion is turned to pride. So he's not hunting for the right reasons. He's not living life for the right reasons. And so, I think that's sort of like the hint that I'll give you for that question is we have this rite of passage where a young boy has to go out and learn how to hunt on their own. And, but what does that hunt, really, truly, what does it symbolize? And what's the deeper journey? And what's the how is this story a parable? Up on the screen there, if you're watching on Zoom or you're checking this out on a YouTube video, I've got an illuminated manuscript from the Bible, written in what looks like Latin. So in the Bible, there are many parables, and the parables are stories that Jesus tells his followers. And parables are a special kind of story. They're also a form of what we call an allegory. So an allegory is a story that's told through like symbolism, right? So you have the Good Samaritan is a very famous parable from the Bible. You have the people, the two houses, the person that builds their home on sand, the person that builds their home on rocks. There is the story of the prodigal son, where a son who has been away from his family for years returns home, and the son who's been good has stayed and looked after his family. He expects the prodigal son to be punished and not to be welcomed by his parents, but of course they welcome him and they love him. There's the parable of the mustard seed, where even, like a seed can only grow if it has good soil to grow in. So basically, they're stories, and they were meant to be grasped by people. So when Jesus was telling stories, he wanted people to understand them, and he thought that if he used these really simple stories, people would understand them. But then he could also teach like a deeper wisdom, right? So there's like um, there's the surface story. There's the story that happens that you read about, but there's a deeper meaning to the story. So they're using symbolism, they're using metaphor, right? So you know, if we're not just talking about a young boy going on a hunting trip, what are we really talking about? What's the parable of this boy going on this hunting trip? What are we really getting at? What's the metaphor? So that's kind of the angle I'd like you to take on that assignment. So just think about those questions a little deeper. Question 2A. Using the internet, find some information about Susan Aglukark, the singer who wrote Shamaya. You are to download, read, and print at least 2 pages of information about Miss Aglukark, including photos about who she is, her life, and her accomplishments. Create a title slash. You need a title, a cover page for your print off that includes a title for your findings, your name, the course, and the date. And with that in mind, I will just briefly do another demo. So if we do a Google search for any person, that's always a good place to start. You'll see that oftentimes an artist will have an official website. So Susan has one. So there she is. This is her official website. So it's going to should be a pretty good source of information, right? So let's just see here. There we go. Huh. I'm on her website. Huh. Let's go to bio. There we go. So look at that. We've got a biography about her. So you might want to go to susanaglukark.com. That's a good spot to go to. When we were another great website is the Canadian Encyclopedia. So that's an online encyclopedia. It's got notable Canadians. Let's see if there she is. So we could use that. We've got a encyclopedia entry about Susan. So that's lots of good information there. And then maybe one more. If we go back to that Google search and we scroll down, I love Wikipedia because I don't think it's usually not appropriate to use Wikipedia as one of your main sources, but I like to use Wikipedia as a jumping off point. So if we scroll down to the bottom, we have all these references to Susan. So we have a biography from First Nations Drum, which is an online newspaper. So there you go. It's from 2000. It's a bit older, but it's useful. We've got she's to mentor Aboriginal students. So all these articles about her And some of them are a bit older, but they're relevant, right? So I would just to do that, just do a Google search, find out what comes up. Wikipedia has lots of articles you could click on, see at the references here at the bottom. And I would just, I would just try to find some reputable sources. CBC's got one. We've got an article from May 4th, last year, 2022. We have her social media account. So she's got Facebook, she's got Instagram. You might find some information there. And then maybe one more I could think of is Canadian, a company or a publication like Canadian Musician. And I don't really see anything there. But yeah, that should get you started on that assignment. So remember, you need a cover page that includes your a title for your findings. So give your findings a title, your name, the chorus, and the date. So create that cover page, and then just do print-offs of everything that you find. Save them as PDFs, print them off, scan them all together. If you're taking photos and sending your photos to me, just take photos of all your research and put it all together in one report. All right, question 2B. Based on the information you have found about Miss Aglu-Clark, write a brief summary of your findings, one paragraph containing at least 7 sentences. All right? So that's about it, right? So you need to find about, I would suggest that you find, find 2 to 3 documents. Photos. This could include maybe a photo, website pages, magazine articles, maybe social media info, etc. Right? So you have those 2 to 3 documents, and then you should write a sentence for. You'll write a sentence for each one, right? Depending on how many you have. And then you can write a summary of who she is. You might want to think about this kind of like a character sketch, right? So you can you can talk about her age, her particular culture. She's an Inuk woman, singer songwriter. How long she's been around for, how many albums she's had. Right. So just if you do that, yeah, you'll be just fine. I would say maybe at least 3 to 5 documents. And then write a sentence for each one and write a summary of who she is, and you'll be well on your way to having that one finished. All right, compare a traditional hunt by Inuit people. This is question 3. Compare a traditional hunt by Inuit people with that experienced by yourself, a member of your family, relatives, or other people in your community. Or compare with another culture or people, right? So if you're not familiar with hunting, if you don't have experience hunting and you don't really know how it's done, then you can compare. You can compare with another culture, right? So in your response, include information on the following. So talk about the animals hunted, respect for the animal hunted, the uses of the animal hunted, family, community sharing, and celebrations. This will be at least 3 paragraphs or approximately 3/4 to a page handwritten. Only a final copy needs to be handed in. So you may need use of an encyclopedia and or the internet or some other available resource to complete this assignment. So absolutely you'll need to do that. So we have Inuit hunting practice, customs. I'm just doing a quick Google search. So we've got and so you just got to find some information about how they hunted. You know how they we got beluga hunting. Look at that. So so there you go. Let's do Inuit. Let's do hunting beluga customs, right? So that could be, you know, a way to focus your thoughts, right? So you could talk about even like a similar animal, right? So you could do so you got culture 1 over here. You've got culture 2. So we could talk about Inuit. And, you know, we have the animal. Could talk about the beluga. So we have Ojibwe and Anishinaabe. We have the animal is the moose. And then, you know, how are the hunting customs similar? Or different, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, it's a comparison between 2 cultures, right? Around the world, right? So you just got to do a bit of online research and compare those 2 cultures, right? So you'll talk about the animals that are hunted, respect for the animal hunted, uses of animals hunted, meat for food, family, community sharing, and celebrations. The final product will be at least 3 paragraphs or approximately 3/4 to a page handwritten. And so, you know, you could do a paragraph for each. And, you know, just to simplify your writing, you might want to just focus on one animal for each culture. You know, you might find 2 different cultures that are hunting the same animal. So that'd be kind of interesting, right? So you could do that. You could talk about, you know, maybe even herding caribou and herding reindeer, you know, around the world, right? So just so you could look at how maybe 2 cultures hunt the same animal, and how do they hunt the animal? What kind of respect or rituals or customs do they have about the animal? How do they use the animal once they've killed it? Is it just for meat? Is it clothing? Is it ceremonial use? Is it you know, that kind of thing? How is the feast shared in the family community setting, and what kind of celebrations are done around the hunt, right? So if you so you have to do culture 1 is going to be the Inuit people, and culture 2, this is up to you. It's either going to be your own people, your own culture, and if you're not a hunter or you're unfamiliar with the hunting practices that are found in your community, then you can just do some research and find information about a different one. So yeah, how are the hunting customs similar and different? And then the same thing goes for the celebrations, the use of the animal, all those things have to be discussed. So it was the animal, respect for the animal, and the sharing, right? So the sharing in the community and the respect for the animal. Being hunted. So you're doing a comparison, right? This particular culture does it this way, and this particular culture does it that way, right? And you should find some similarities, and you'll definitely find some differences, right? If they are indeed two different cultures. And that's what makes somewhat a different culture is they do things differently. All right, so we're on question 4. In the story Alone on the Ocean, page 112, Donna's father says to her and her brother, "Do not complain about any hardships, because the most bitter of the bitter you suffer will make you into the best people." What do you think he means by this statement? At least 2 sentences for 3 marks. So I'm just going to read some quotes from that I found significant from the story. It's a true story. We don't have time to do the whole thing, but I just want to read you a few quotes that I found to be really relevant. So, Alone on the Ocean. At dawn on October 14th, 1978, my mother, brother, and cousin and I left Vietnam, each of us carrying a small bag of clothes and another bag of dry food and water. We were all alone on the Pacific Ocean. There was only an endless view of water and sky. Bai Dong was an island with nothing but mountains and trees. That's the island in Malaysia where they end up. The Malaysian soldiers were corrupt. The Canadian High Commission decided our fate. We immediately packed up and left the evil island for a small town. The day I left Malaysia was the most meaningful day for me. When I stepped onto the plane, I knew that all the evil and hardship were left behind me forever, and glorious days were waiting for me ahead. And the final paragraph of the excerpt reads, I have been living now in Canada for 2 years and have grown to love this country, but I feel guilty about the material comforts and the freedom I enjoy here while my father is suffering in Vietnam. I will use whatever strength I have left to get my father out as soon as possible. I also pray that those still on the sea are secure. My escape from Vietnam by sea will haunt me until the day I die. So that is sort of like stands in contrast where when she's talking about leaving Malaysia, and she thought that she had left all the evil and all the hardships were behind her forever, and you could see how she would feel very optimistic upon leaving. It was a refugee camp, but she called it a concentration camp, and that's because of the abuse from the soldiers and having their possessions stolen and just being treated very awfully. And so when she leaves there, she thinks she's left it all behind. But of course, as she's writing this article, as she's writing this memoir, She acknowledges that the pain is still there, and she's trying to get her father out of the country as soon as she can. And her escape from Vietnam is still going to haunt her until the day she dies. So, what did the father mean by "do not complain about any hardships, because the most bitter of the bitter you suffer will make you into the best people"? What do you think he means by this statement? So keep in mind that he's not going on the journey. He probably wishes that he is, but he's not going on the journey. He is simply telling his family to be strong, right? So in your own words, at least 2 sentences, read the excerpt, think about this question. What does he mean by this statement? What message is he trying to convey to his family? What does he want his family to feel? What does he want to give them? What's his prediction for their trip? Like what's he thinking? Does he know if they're going to make it? How certain is he they're going to be okay out there, right? So, yeah, it's a pretty heavy story. Question 4. Using an atlas or a map of the world, locate the countries of Vietnam and Malaysia. Identify 3 other countries that are found in this region of the world. So, I'll pull up a website here. When I was a boy, me and my brother used to always we had the CIA World Factbook, and so CIA.gov. That's of course the Central Intelligence Agency, and they produce a book every year called the World Book, and it's online as well. So if you go to the CIA World Factbook and you go to the top of the screen, you'll see maps. We have world and regional maps. I'm going to view maps. I'm looking for Asia. I have political Asia. I have physical Asia. So I have maps that'll show me mountains and terrains and stuff like that. But let's see, Southeast Asia. Yeah, so the region of the world we're talking about here is Southeast Asia. So I'm gonna download this PDF map. And I've got a map of Southeast Asia. And if I zoom in, I can see the country of Vietnam right here. We're not really sure what country she left from, but you see that there's Vietnam. To the south of Vietnam is the country of Malaysia. So there's this big island right here. That actually has it's the island of Borneo, which has Indonesia, Brunei, and parts of Malaysia all on it. So we got Vietnam right here. We have the island nation of the Philippines to the far east. We have Indonesia. We have East Timor, Papua New Guinea, right? So we have all these countries: Cambodia, Thailand, Laos, Burma, Taiwan. So all these countries are known to comprise the region known as Southeast Asia. So you will find what you're looking for by consulting a map like that. You can also just Google Southeast Asia map, and you'll also find what you're looking for. So besides Vietnam and Malaysia, identify 3 other countries that are found in this region of the world. So tell me where, tell me what region of the world we're talking about, tell me where Vietnam and Malaysia are, and identify 3 other countries that are found in this part of the world. Question 5. Why do you think so many people were wanting to leave their home country of Vietnam with the goal of coming to Canada to live? At least 1 sentence. So you've got the Vietnam War, which is probably, the most, I would say the most pressing concern. Okay, so there you go. So the Vietnam War takes place from 1954. It's over 20 years, right? So I didn't realize it was that long. So 21 years of conflict in Vietnam. So in 1978, the war in Vietnam has been over for 3 years, but the country was left in such a bad state that people were trying to get out of it. The government that was running Vietnam was very oppressive. The American military had carpet bombed the entire country. They had poisoned the farmland. You've got generations of people with cancer, and the country of Vietnam is in a really rough state, right? So infrastructure's bombed out. Roads are bombed out. Hospitals are gone. Like it's a war-torn country. It's going to be a really hard place to live, and you can see how people would want to leave the country. And then this is from the Encyclopedia Britannica, and they've got an entry on the Vietnamese boat people, right? And so that's that's really important. You've got a little photo documentary about the war. Vietnamese boat people. And we've got a Wikipedia entry. These are the boat people. This refers to the refugees who fled Vietnam by boat and ship following the end of the Vietnam War in 1975. This migration and humanitarian crisis was at its highest in 1978 when the article was published in 1979, but it also continued into the early 1990s. The term is also used generically to refer to the Vietnamese people who left their country in mass exodus between 1975 and 1995. This article uses the term boat people to apply to only those who fled Vietnam by sea. So that is, that in a nutshell is the reason why so many people are trying to. Well, sometimes I just try to lead you in the right direction. But I think that time I pretty much gave you the answer, but put that in your own words. Give it some historical context. Talk about the country of Vietnam itself, what's happening in that country, and then, what's happening in 1978 when she leaves. So, question 7. Briefly describe Donna's journey, physical and emotional, from its beginning in Vietnam. So one paragraph containing at least 6 sentences. So you need to describe her journey, both physical and emotional, from its beginning in Vietnam. So what you want to do is you want to flip to that article in the in your anthology. So that is In the Road Ahead. This is Alone on the Ocean by Donna Fung. So you can give her physical journey. So you want to trace her journey, where she started, who she was with, where they went, where they ended up, right? So she leaves, she gets on this boat. Suddenly, I'm reading from the excerpt now. Suddenly, I heard our names being called, and we kissed each other goodbye. We dragged ourselves on the boat with heavy footsteps. We started our adventure on a small boat only 60 feet long. It carried 230 people. Our baggage and food were thrown into the cabin, and the women and children were forced to jump down into the cargo hold. It was all in darkness, and we could just sit on the floor with bent knees. Soon the boat was filled with people, packed in like sardines. I fell asleep as the boat swayed. Soon everyone got seasick, and babies began to cry. My throat was burning so much that I needed water. For 2 days I could not keep anything in my stomach. On the 3rd day I needed to go to the washroom, so people on the deck pulled me out. I felt as if I were being freed from hell, and that it had been years since I had fresh air. Greedily, I inhaled the fresh sea breeze. I decided not to go back out to the hold anymore, so I hid in a corner by the rail. On the fourth day, we saw some large ships not far away. Eagerly, we put up an SOS flag to ask for help, but they all steered away from us at full speed as if they had just seen a group of violent animals. I was so depressed by their indifference and selfishness. Perhaps they were afraid, and they would have had to share food with us. With disappointment again and again and again, we went on and on slowly under the fiery sun. So, so if we're looking at this with the elements of narrative, you're talking about the plot. So you're talking about, you know, what happened. You are going to describe the physical journey. So you'll do that by listing all the locations listed. So you're going to talk about what happened, describe the physical journey, give me all the locations that she visited. You could also talk about the ship, the conditions on the ship. And so it's kind of like a two-part thing. You're talking about the plot and the setting. And the second part of this assignment is her emotional state. So her emotional state / journey, right? And so what you want to do here is you want to go throughout the text and you want to pick off, you know, she says she was depressed when the boat wouldn't help her. You know, she was surprised at how many people showed up. So just focus in on those words that tell us about her inner world, right? You know, she talks about being haunted, right? And she uses the word delighted when they find out they're going to leave the camp and they're going to go to Canada, right? So you're talking about the outer world, the world of the journey, the physical settings, the places she's actually been, and then you're talking about her inner emotional state. So I've highlighted some words like depressed, surprised, haunt, delighted. These give us hints to, you know, what she was actually thinking about, what she was going through on this journey. And so briefly describe that journey, both inner and outer, and you will have completed question 7. So that's all the time we have for today. We will see you next week where we continue our discussion of Unit 3.